All right, hello, welcome one and all. We're here today to celebrate clan war between the Night Crew and the Extreme Meme team. So strap yourselves in. It's going to be an absolute blast. Got some great matchups lined up for you guys today. And yeah, it's my absolute pleasure to bring this to you. This is the first official clan war for the Night Crew. So I'm excited. I'm, very excited. I'm honored. A lot of the Night Crew members are regular submitters of replays to this channel, regular friends of the channel, I would call them. So appreciate you guys. Of course, XMT I have been affiliated with for some time, but it's definitely going to be a good time today. So let's get started. We're going to start with a replay, actually. This game was already fought, so we're just going to be watching the replay, but that's all good. Totally don't mind that, as it allows us to just move through to the next. They're not all going to be replays. We do have some live games lined up, but let's go ahead and get started here. Make sure I'm following this running order. Strat game so helpfully provided. We've got Strat game versus Gojira up first. Let's go ahead and load that up. Hello, welcome. So many fine, friendly faces in the chat here today. Yes, so we're going to start with Beastmen versus Greenskins classic beatstick matchup with Morgar the Shadowgave leading the way. We've got a bunch of regular Centaurs, some dual weapon Gores, some Ungor Spearman Herds. We've got the Regiment Renowned Butchers of Kalkengard. Yeah, looks like Lore of Beasts, Bray Shaman with Flock of Doom, Curse of on rare. I've been seeing a lot of Flock of Doom recently. It is quite strong after all, used appropriately. On the opposite side for Gojira, we've got some trolls. Yeah, plenty of trolls. Wurzag as the general, some Savage Orc, Air Boys, Orc War Boy Biggins, Orc Boys up front, a couple of Goblin Wolf Rider archers ready to do some skirmishing. So, yeah, starting with a spicy one for sure. And let's see how it goes here. The Goblin Wolf Rider is getting a little bit danger close, but they're actually trying to skirmish the Centaurs, which is definitely a good target for them to go after. Savage Orc Air Boys have really nice AP, not that it really matters much in this matchup, but yeah, they're basically crossbowmen, more or less, but looks like, oof, are these... Oh, they do get a countercharge right at the last second. Orc Boar Boys, their armor and cheaper cost helps them trade very cost-effectively in that kind of heads-up engagement there against those Centaurs. Butchers are definitely going to be quite dangerous, though. They're going to reorganize over to this far flank here, and yeah, both players kind of sliding their formations in an oblong fashion into this engagement here. So, just fantastic. Little cast from Wurzag, get that nice map wide. He did miscast himself, unfortunately. Got to be a little bit careful of that, but got some good damage out nonetheless. And gives Bonewood Staff proc, right? Yep, to all map wide orcs and goblins. So that's quite nice. Looks like we're going to see over here a little Curse of Honor. Yeah, only goes after one Orc Warboy Biggin, so relatively expensive spell to be used on such a relatively inexpensive target. Meanwhile, this other flank for both players is just kind of passive, so we'll keep it right here on this near side left flank for the Greenskins. Yeah, Curse of Honor still, though, is going to result in those Orc Warboy Biggins getting taken out, which is, it's value for sure. It is a certain amount of value trade, it must be said. Gonna see a nice Flock of Doom in here as well, going after these Orc Boys that we're kind of punching through, and immediately both of them tear route to the Butchers of Kalkengard. So, nice back and forth here. Stone Trolls are definitely going to be a little bit outclassed by the Butchers of Kalkengard. Swamp Things can maybe get in here and reduce some of that melee attack, but it looks like they're just heavily trying to punish these Ungor Raiders in the backline. Meanwhile, super cost-effective for these two Wolf Rider archers to just lead the Centaurs far afield. Stray, they can skirmish them down, and yeah, it's basically an even value trade. Try and trade evenly there, so anyway. Overcasting with Wurzag is explicitly against the rules. Yes, apparently. The Savage Orc Boar Boys, though, I mean, they have some melee stats. They're going to take damage pretty quick because their defensive stats are honestly terrible, but they should be able to punch back okay, especially with Wah popping off now, but This backline penetration force, especially these trolls getting routed off, is pretty painful. That is quite a bit of value that got lost out, just getting drowned in Ungor Raiders and Centaurs. Ungor Raiders are just such a great unit, honestly. Low-key, one of the best unit on Beastmen's roster. Absolutely, I think so. A little bit of camera issues today, but that's okay. We'll persevere. War Boys are going to try their best to also get in this backline, but like the Ungor Raiders, even without necessarily firing a lot of ammunition in this one, have just kind of forced Gojira to overextend a lot of units into this backline. Well, not necessarily forced him, but baited him to, right? And so, as a result, the Beastmen have been able to respond with their own Centaurs quite effectively. And because they're fighting so close to the edge of the map, you know, low leadership factions, it's quite easy for units to get chased off here, and the Butchers, just really, the Greenskins don't have a great direct answer for them. So, the Savage Orc Airboys are definitely going to be the best answer, but they're a little bit busy right now, also trying to not get compromised by the Centaurs, so nice pressure from Strat Game all across the field here. Yeah, that's the main thing, Cool Umbrella, I agree, is you don't want to overcast because you don't want to use extra magic, right? Need as many casts as possible, and like, even in terms of spell selection here, I don't know if I would even use... I mean, if you want to go pure efficiency, you just take Gaze of Mork and Headbutt only. But, yeah, Brain Burst is still pretty decent. I would probably take that and Headbutt, so you could get some nice AoE damage out of him with two relatively cheap spells and just spam them kind of back to back. As it is right now, Warzag's being forced to run to the hills. You burn that FG to get on those Centaurs to try and keep himself alive, but things are falling apart pretty quickly for the Greenskins as their leadership starts to give out. So there you go. It's gonna start today with victory for the Night Crew. And yeah, pretty decisive with those Centaurs. Definitely had some really nice plays there. The Boars just didn't ever really trade super cost effectively. Same with the Stone Trolls. The Raiders that definitely helped in that aspect in kind of drawing things out of position. But Brain Burst to Irigo and Fist of Gork. Irigo is really good. It is a bit more expensive, so you're kind of sacrificing a few casts of some other spells with it. But yeah, it's such a great spell though. Honestly, that big AOE melee attack plus the Bonewood Staff on top of it is a huge timing push. So don't disagree necessarily, but it is something to consider. What is it, like 12 Winds of Magic or something? Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and award a point then to NC, and we'll move to the next game here. I just got to make sure. Let's see. Yes, so we'll go ahead and get the next match shortly. Just got to get these guys and their lobbies up. So, yes, okay. All right, so next up we've got Killing Smalls versus Hadriz. I go ahead and just quickly get the names updated for the players here. Excellent. Skaven. Always a good time. Dark Elves are quite strong right now, though. So let's see how this goes. Should be a good one for sure. Let's take a look at these builds here. So we're actually going to see Morathi, a little bit of an unusual pick. The meta pick definitely right now seems to be the Supreme Sorceress on the Dragon, just due to the cost, but Morathi's definitely very strong. Morathi Double Manticore is pretty classic, honestly. Yeah. Should be interesting. It is a pretty classic build. Morathi Double Manticore, of course, was the favorite of Ice Power as well. He definitely won quite a few tournaments with that. That specific build set up towards late Warhammer 2. Manticores are not as good as they used to be, honestly, but they're still pretty decent. Still one of the most cost-effective monsters in the game, probably. A couple of Scourge Runner Chariots also here. We've got some Harpies, lots of Dark Riders, so good amount of mobility. Peter Crossbows and Raven's Heralds, so definitely looking for some nice mobile skirmish play. From the Skaven side, I'm a little bit worried that they don't have much skirmishers themselves, but it's definitely interesting. We've got Skrulk here, got Chieftain, and a Mutant Rat Ogre, Warlock Engineer, Plague Monks, Poisonwind Globadiers, some Clan Rats, looks like a Warp Grinder. Yeah, lots of Clan Rat Spears and Skaven Slave Spears. Interesting. Guess he's expecting some large targets. Ode to XMT, Morathi Double Manticore. Yes, Ice Power somewhere is shedding a single tear of joy. Yeah, I like the Chieftain, Rat Ogre, honestly, in tandem. But nothing to heal them. There's no Packmaster here. Engineers, just looking at Howling Warp Gale, but again, Hadriz doesn't really have the tools to respond. I guess he can lock them down once they're on the ground, maybe, right? But still, like, there's no Jezzails or Rattling Guns or anything to punish up in the air, which, I mean, to a degree, I understand. Killing Smalls definitely went heavy on the mobility, and it would be pretty tough to protect any weapons teams. Globes are cheap enough and high damage at close range, so they can get the job done. They also are the most numerous of any weapons teams, so they have models to give. All right. This Skaven army. Skaven's an interesting one. They've changed quite a bit over time. But I honestly, the Plague Furnace, I haven't seen many people using it in Warhammer 3. I honestly can't say that I've used it a ton myself either, and I can't really say why either. Maybe the damage on the Plague Furnace AoE is not very good right now. Someday CA will make a niche for Purple Globes. Honestly, if they just nerfed Poison Wind's actual damage and they buffed the Death Globes, like, explosion damage, I think the Death Globes would suddenly become, like, actually really good. It would be possible for them to be the meta pick over the Poison Winds. It's just tough because the Poison Winds are cheaper, so kind of by default they're usually going to be more cost effective. Yes, I do have a list here I can show you guys in just a moment. Skaven initially going to be taking a little bit of skirmish damage on the Rat Ogres, which is not necessarily ideal, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. They're not insanely expensive. And no units in this build really are crazy expensive, except, I guess, the monsters and characters, but even then, quite a bit of distributed value here. Like the Clan Rat Spears should be a little bit sturdier against Dark Riders and, you know, Dread Spears and so forth. But, yeah, this one Poison Wind Globe, man, between Melkos and the skirmish damage now from the Raven's Heralds, they are just getting absolutely destroyed, which is not too impactful. I mean, it is definitely going to affect things, but Wolf Rat's also kind of getting caught out here in the open to a degree. But, yeah, the lack of answer for the Raven's Heralds, even just, like, mass slingers, to be honest, would be pretty nice. But Dark Riders going straight into some Clan Rat Spears. Going to be a fine engagement for the Ratty Boys. Take some damage on the initial charge, of course, but they definitely will punch back and win that engagement. The Raven's Heralds right now are just kind of surgically trying to eliminate whatever quote-unquote high-value targets they can here. Tactically, the Poison Wind Globes are definitely high-value targets. Although value-wise, they're not necessarily even as expensive as the Rat Ogres, but... Hey, good to see you, Daniel. Yeah, it's normally not streaming on a Saturday morning, although I probably should start streaming more weekends. Well, it's afternoon, to be honest. It's morning for some people. But, yeah, hopefully y'all are enjoying your weekend. Right now, Hadriz is advancing. Killing Small is trying his best to kite here a little bit. And he's doing damage to the right targets, certainly, from a tactical perspective. But, yeah, the Raven's Heralds, they just... I might even, honestly, from Skrolk, burn Liber Bubonicus just to, like, clear a bunch of their models off. And, I mean, Morathi has spell resistance anyway, so the Liber Bubonicus isn't going to do as much to her. He also can self-heal through it, and I don't know. Those Raven's Heralds are just, they're dangerous for sure. And the fact that the Poison Wind Globes are struggling so badly, Killing Smalls definitely does not want to deal with any of that. So, Mutant Rat Ogre, though, getting in, mixing it up with some of these Dark Riders. Clan Rat Spears kind of getting mopped up in a couple instances. Yeah, the Raven's Heralds might try and snipe one of these characters now. Let's see, it looks like they are going to go after the Chieftain, potentially. Manticore's stuck on the ground here momentarily. Just absolutely launches the Mutant Rat Ogre as it moves up into the sky. That was a decent one, for sure. It's like a classic Gorbel launch, honestly. Melkos now on the Rat Ogres, which, again, makes sense to a degree, just to try and slow them down. Doesn't do that much damage to them, but it is going to do some damage to them. Morathi is burning a lot of her magic, though, on these Melkos. Oh, there's a Howling Warp Gale. We're going to see a Soul Stealer as well, which then hits the Chieftain. Little Blessed with Filth, gives some poison attacks there. I mean, the Skaven are eating up kind of the meat shields, which is the whole idea of this build, I think, from Strat Games' perspective. But, oh man, Morathi dives on the ground. That's a risky dive for sure, but it looks like she has plenty of follow-up power. Manticore's moving in. Yeah, the Mutant Rat Ogre are going to take a lot of damage very quickly with the Chieftain now also being eliminated. Oof. Line up and over there. Tower of Ulthuan here. I've actually had some success with the Molder Monster Blobs, but definitely need a Packmaster for healing. That said, Dark Elves are going to start to run out of ammunition here pretty soon. They do still have some ammo on these Dark Riders, but if I look at things, they've eliminated a lot of high-value targets, but Hadris hasn't been completely idle. Wolf Rat's managed to catch and kill a unit of Scourge Runner Chariots, and he's got them kind of trying to escort the Chieftain here. Harpies kind of get a little bit of an awkward charge there. Not going to trade necessarily great against the Wolf Rats either. And Skrolk is, at least for the time being, still alive. It's not a complete pushover in and of himself. As long as he doesn't have to fight all the single entities at the same time, he can actually trade okay with the Manticores. And probably Morathi in the late game, we'll see. But, yeah, Contaminated, doing that extra leadership debuff on top of not great leadership already for the Feral Manticore does mean, looks like Skrolk's going to be able to rout it off with about half HP left. Pretty impressive stuff. Warlock Engineer is also kind of hanging around here. Not the most impressive single entity by any means, but he is another single entity that can definitely come help the situation. So Adris is not completely done for, and in fact, it looks like the Chieftain was able to come back from rout, kind of rally together some Molder forces. Little Howling Warp Gale there. Tries to catch the Manticore still on the ground. Unfortunately, is able to escape. Morathi just immediately flies into the AoE. That's hilarious. Too bad Skaven don't have any punish for that. But Raven's Heralds now, let's see. Their melee stats are not the worst in the world, but not necessarily great either. So, yeah, Molder monsters here. Chieftain trying to get away. Killing Smalls, following up with the Dark Riders that do still have some ammunition left. But, I mean, Hadris still probably has a decent amount of Winds of Magic left as well. I can't imagine he would have used too many. He has used a few summons, actually. But, Manticore just enraged there. It's going to dive down onto the ground. There's no helping it. Straight into some Clan Rat Spears. And it's actually a nice boon for Hadris, that enrage right now. This essentially means that this Manticore is no longer combat effective. I mean, we'll see. It might actually be able to terrify away these Clan Rat Spears. Hadris really should get Skrolk over there to try and help out, but maybe the Clan Rat Spears can do enough. About those Scourge Chariots, we're going to come in for a little side charge. But some Dread Spheres also for killing Smalls, way over chasing. Some Skaven units out in the far side. Got some Plague Monks here still fighting. They're kind of getting drawn out of position into a space where the crossbows can try and get them down. So, yeah, things are looking definitely interesting. Got the Warp Grinders. Raged Manticore is done for. But I guess Melkoth's being used on the Warp Grinders at this point. Interesting call for sure. I don't know. I'd probably just save all of Morathi's magic for Soul Sealer at this point. I mean, I know she has a lot still. Only one more use of Power of Darkness, but Mutant Rat Ogre got dumbstirred. Yeah, absolutely terrible unit, to be honest. The Regiment of Renown one, at least, has... what? Has a extra cooldown on contact? Extra ability cooldown on contact, which situationally is kind of fun, but it just doesn't... it tends not to be super cost-effective. Yeah, Plague Monk's looking pretty isolated right now. They do have some Skaven Slave Spears to help, but they are just Skaven Slave Spears after all. Managed to get charged by those Dark Riders and do a tiny little bit of damage in response. But Plague Monk's time is definitely numbered here, so they're going to get hammer and anviled by some Dark Riders. Dark Riders, low tier as they are, definitely a solid charge bonus. And yeah, the Skaven Slave Spear's leadership definitely isn't going to hold up to an assault like that, so things are just kind of slowly being dragged down for Hadris. Yeah, they definitely suffer from the Gorbel syndrome for sure. Also known as cow tipping disease. CTD. CTD is a serious problem. And you can help your local Gorbel today by donating to my stream. All proceeds will not go to Gorbel, but it will definitely raise awareness of the plight of CTD. Did you know CTD doesn't just affect cows? That's right, also affect rats as well. Rats grow to be of a certain size, then they are much more prone to suffer from CTD. Looks like Killing Small is just patiently kind of skirmishing with his Dark Riders right now. Trying to bring his Manticores to bear. What is dealing damage to these Dark Riders? Or do they just have like a bugged effect? That's the warp armor, right, from this guy? Which is pretty terrible AoE damage aura. But it's there, it does exist. We'll do some damage over time. Warlock Engineer has got 135 value from using it, but there you go. Yes, absolutely. Most unusual in size, it must be said. There we go, a little blessed with filth for those Clan Rat Spears. Clan Rat Spears are, they're pretty decent. We'll see if their leadership is able to hold out once those Manticores come in. Ooh, we're gonna see a nice summon, Clan Rat summon too. Hadris is not out of this. I mean, he's definitely taken some severe damage on his build, but he's tenacious, definitely. And these Clan Rats are going to continue fighting. This is the most dangerous time for Skrulk, though, is this 3v1 situation here. He really needs these Clan Rats, Warlock Engineer, to try and route the two Manticores so that Skrulk can focus Marathi. Let's see how it does. Warlock Engineer getting... Oh, the Howling Warp Gale! The critical Howling Warp Gale right at a clutch moment. Managed just to isolate Marathi against the two Skaven single entities. Clan Rat Spears are getting some hits. Are they? Or are they actually getting terrified away? Looks like some more Clan Rat Spears actually emerge from the woods here and come down to try and help. Definitely will be a match for those Dark Riders. So despite what the balance of power may have you think, Adris, definitely not out of this yet, playing this very patiently, saving those Clan Rat summons, using up 2 now, the last 2 he had, I believe. Yeah, no more uses of Clan Rat summons. Oh, we're going to see another Soul Stealer from Marathi. And, oh, the Clan Rats... Clan Rat Spears just facing multi-charges from many directions all at the same time. Skrulks here shoring up their leadership, but will it be enough? Warlock Engineer also hits the drain on a bunch of units at the same time, and here comes a Rod of Corruption. Just been saved the whole time as well from Hadrid's Skrulk, so, oh man, the devastating damage being done to a lot of these Dark Riders and other various units. Another Blessed with Filth for that poison damage. Poison contact effect, I should say. And it's been a stand here. I mean, taking a look at things, the Skaven are teetering on army losses right now. And if it weren't for that, I would say they might have a chance to hold out. But it is going to be tough. Skrulk now lacking some support in a 2v1. Again, very dangerous situation for him to be in. But thankfully, Skrulk will get knocked around a decent amount and not... oh, just kidding. He gets terrified and then army losses. So there it is. A closer than anticipated finish for sure. But not quite what Hadris wanted. Very nicely played by Killing Smalls there. Just did it super patiently. A great job with those Ravens Heralds, and Marathi, of course, feasting tons of value with the Melkoths and with the Soul Stealers. Dark Riders just excellent in this matchup for how cheap and efficient they are. And then from Hadra's side, some of the Wolf Rats got really nice value that did manage to actually catch and kill the Scourge Runner Chariots. Skrulk, definitely a solid choice. I don't know, the Clan Rat Spears is an interesting one. Some of them actually end up paying for themselves, but often I find paying for Clan Rats is just not necessarily worth it. I don't know, maybe it would have been better to take more volume of globes so that they would have to dedicate more resources to actually taking them out. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Definitely a fun one for sure. So let's go ahead and get to the next lobby. And I believe the next one is a 2v2. Okay, just a second here. Okay. Nope. Okay, of course. Super secret. And looks like we're still waiting on a player here, so we'll go ahead and take that time to update the scoreboard. Another point for NC. I don't think we're doing anything different with the scoring on this one, right? The 2v2s are just worth 1 point, I want to say. All right. So, started Baldur's Gate last night officially, and have to say, so far, having a really good time. Decided to play a hybrid monk slash druid class. Just definitely been a lot of fun. Yeah, one of the druid cantrips like buffs quarterstaves and clubs, which, I mean, obviously you monk, you start out with a quarterstaff as your primary weapon, and actually does a hilarious amount of damage. It's a pretty good combination. So yeah, I'm kind of going with my druid spells and cantrips and stuff. I'm kind of going more like healing and some utility, like that Chilalaw cantrip, Flurry of the Paws. Basically, yeah, pretty much. I haven't decided what druid specialization I'm going with, but I don't know. I think it could be kind of hilarious to do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely some members more than others. They do play in the dominations circuit. I know there's some active players there. In terms of land battles, its current year's been reasonably active. Yeah, we have a few. Sweet. Like these guys are just about ready. We'll go ahead and just switch these off for now. Oh, yes. Tomb Kings and Norsca. Quite the combination versus the most heretical Empire and Vampire counts. Should be interesting. Yeah, I can already see the Tomb Kings build is skewed pretty heavily towards ranged units. So, oh, yes. Should be good. Might take a little bit of time to load in, but in the meantime, we can appreciate some of the beautiful vistas of the Badlands, these mesas and buttes. That right there, that is a big old butte. This is actually, in my home state of Utah, there is some geography that looks vaguely like this in terms of the, Red Cliff mesas and everything. Oh no! Lost a player. I think we're probably gonna have to reload this. Yep. Unfortunate situation. Happens from time to time. These multiplayer games. But certainly is interesting. Just take a quick gander at these builds here. And Norsca kind of went frontline in mobility. Tomb Kings kind of went more like artillery and support infantry. Whereas both of these guys kind of just brought builds, to be honest. True enough, Dagron. Yeah. Speaking of Baldur's Gate, it'd be fun to maybe get together like a group Baldur's Gate stream or something. I don't know. I think that could be a good time. So far, I've just been playing solo, but I was thinking I might try and get a party going here soon. Let's see here. Oh, that was a little louder than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully that didn't scare anyone. Sometimes, man, like, we'll log on to a pre-stream and then forget that I logged on. Like, I'll be, you know, just have the web page open on my second monitor, like, behind something else, and then all of a sudden music starts playing, and just sometimes it can be a little spooky. A little startling, I will say. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at these builds. Yes. So, like I said, Norsca kind of taking more of a front line. We've got 4 champs, and then a bunch of mobility. We've got some ice wolves, lots of ice wolves, skin wolves, Marauder spearmen also to kind of help support this front line, and Throg. Got Cathay with some Carrions, skeleton warriors in the front line, car warriors. And then, yeah, triple Ushabti Great Bows, double Screaming Skull Catapults, and a Bone Giant. So definitely looking at some very hefty skirmish potential there. For the other side here, Empire and Vampires, Carl and a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. This is an incredibly potent combination. We've got war wagons also, plenty of zombies, skeleton spears, Empire spears, Knights of the Blazing Sun, single tasteful Hellblaster volley gun, and Royal Altar fights as well. Some grenade launcher outriders, crypt horrors, and the bats will be very helpful in trying to silence some of this artillery. But they will have to be careful of the carrion. Generally, carrion trade. Actually, I don't know. Bats probably win that just due to the fact their models are swarming. Okay. All right. Let's see how this goes. I'm actually not familiar with this map. Good one. Okay. Yes. What have you guys been playing on Baldur's Gate, by the way? Let me know in the chat as we kind of wait for these guys to get started here. I really like just... Yeah, it's just 5th edition, basically, more or less. Like, it's Dungeons & Dragons, classic stuff. The way the multi-classing is just there, and it's relatively easy to access. Yeah, so far, the characters have been pretty decent. I haven't loved all of the characters in the writing, but some of them have been pretty good, honestly. And yeah, just overall it's been an enjoyable experience. Granted, I've only put in, like, you know, 4 or 5 hours, but still, Definitely hoping to play some more today, maybe a little bit more tomorrow. Just generally make a weekend of it. So I'm not sure exactly what we're waiting on here. But all good to go on my end. Should have grabbed a coffee before this stream. Maybe I'll sneak off and see if my lovely, beautiful fiance would make me coffee with her nice new espresso machine she just received as a gift. Okay, let me shoot one of these guys a message and see if there's some kind of holdup or... Okay, they're getting started. Finally, I'm not sure what the wait was about there, but we're finally off to the races here. And immediately the screaming memes are going to open fire. A lot of this unholy matrimony here is deployed up where this butte can block a lot of the shots from the artillery to a degree. But it is also going to kind of separate out the forces as they advance a little bit here, so not necessarily an ideal situation, but the Screaming Skulls immediately just pounding away at zombies, which is completely fine, especially if the Unholy Lodestone stays close. Or that's actually a Balefire, interesting. Not every day you see one of those. But Uncle Gant's got to be careful with his Blood Dragon not to get pounded by these fat kid who shot these. It's the name of the player, guys. Don't freak out. Yeah, VAR guys, probably my least favorite unit in the game right now because they're on the faction that I don't like and they're not very good, in my opinion. I do love a barrage of skulls in the morning, certainly. And it looks like the corpse card actually is taking some focus fire there. Not really sure exactly why. But quickly, once they realize there is a Hellblaster volley gun in the mix, pounding these Marauder champions, the Bone Giant, and the Screaming Skulls are going to start to open fire on the Hellblaster. So far, ineffective, but see how it goes. The Bats and Vargeist are rushing in to try and just delete these Carrions. Carrions really should just hard land right now and try and force all those units onto the ground where the Ice Wolves and other units can come support them. But it doesn't look like they are going to do so. Instead, just getting eaten up in the air by their fellow undead. Just definitely my seal of approval on that one. But, yeah, the Hellblaster's actually taken some pretty serious damage now. Some of those shots have landed directly on the crew members. And it's not really returning fire particularly effectively right now. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat in the background. She's a little upset with my behavior. I'm not really sure why, but anyway. Those look like the Vampires and Empire were able to get into the fight, though, with taking relatively little damage. Really nice zombie summon, too. Just eats one Screaming Skull. Or is that actually, yeah, Skeleton Warrior, just so they have a little bit more oomph. Can actually get the Screaming Skull down to crumbling. But the Bats now, having prevailed over the Carrion, can also kind of swoop in and start to disrupt the Shabti Great Bows. And this other Catapult here. Of course, summons just so strong. Nice VTOL breath attack from the dragon on Kotep's dome. Let's see here. Looks like some of the backline skeleton summons are already getting defeated. And a little bit of overblobbing here by the Unholy Alliance is going to lead to a nasty Burning Head in the front line. Just absolutely clips bunch of zombies and spearmen. I mean, they are just zombies and spearmen after all, but still, it certainly helps kind of thin out some of that chaff there. Looks like, yeah, these Vargeist, again, just taking severe damage while doing relatively little themselves. War Wagon's also getting wrecked by something. I'm not sure exactly what, but good to see they are here. Yeah, Vargeist, again, just failing to accomplish anything meaningful whatsoever, which should surprise no one, to be honest. But Tomb Kings, Kotep unleashes that Skull Storm. It's going to do a nice job dealing some damage, but will also deal significant friendly damage as well in that engagement there. I don't know if that was 100% worth it, but Knights Blazing Sun, Royal Altar of Cryphites, and Carl. Let's watch them as they kind of try and find their place here. Yeah, if they can break through these Marauder champions right here, they do have an avenue to potentially get in this backline and try and shut down those Ushabti. Knights of the Blazing Sun and Altar of Cryphites also could try and take out these Skin Wolves here, so just in general, XMT side really needs to get in that back line, but at the same time, they do have Throg caught out in the open against the Blood Dragon and Banshee. Crypt Horrors moving to trap him, make sure he can't escape this overextension, and that's going to be a pretty big dent in the balance of power for Norsca, losing out their leadership relatively early in this fight. The grenade launchers also managed to come in on this flank here, basically untouched, and the Ice Wolves had a little avenue to attack them, but instead they're moving back to try and defend the backline, try and, you know, not overextend, which definitely is the right call, but does mean that these grenade launchers are going to be free to continue blasting away over on this flank. And oh no! Oh, Kotep. Karl Franz and the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord both just descend, and he is on horseback, so he's not going to get knocked over and mitigate any of this damage. He'll just take the full brunt of it to the face. Best thing he can do is just bravely run away. Let Karl and Blood Dragon just duke it out with these Ice Wolves, but front line starting to crumble, back line starting to get compromised by Knights, Dendroglyph Knights, Blazing Suns in the back line now in these Ushabti. It's not at all what NC team wants. The north-south axis here just faltering as their front line kind of falls apart a little bit, but this right flank of theirs did just fine. Got a lot of infantry now, especially those champs reorganizing to help this fight out, and the champs are quite strong. Those look like the Altar of Cryphites and the Knights of Blazing Sun got eaten up by the counterattack of the Skin Wolves and the champs and everything else, so it's definitely not easy at this point. XMT getting punched, but punching back. And, oh man, Blood Dragon from Gant just taking point-blank damage from the Ushabti Greatbows. The fact that the Ushabti Greatbows are all still alive is definitely a problem. I mean, one of them is almost gone. These other two, though, are definitely causing some issues. Really nice zombie summon from Uncle Gant, though, is just going to saturate in a bunch of these units, provide some healing for his own vampire counts, and so forth. So, yeah, looking interesting right now. From a battlefield perspective, a lot of the value for the Unholy Matrimony is in their leadership, so that's why, you know, the NC team or South Axis has a lot more units, obviously, but losing both of the Lords is definitely going to be a problem. Although Throg did come back from rout briefly here. He's getting hit by Crypt Horrors and by a Skeleton Spearmen, so he's going to get routed off in short order again. Yeah, the grenade launcher is still alive somehow in this late game. Could be pretty important. Karl desperately trying to finish off. Oh, does he actually? Yeah, Karl's trying his best to get through all this chaff to try and, oh man. Oh, that's going to be a nice Dwellers Below on 2 champions. 3 champions now running into that area of effect. That Dweller is going to absolutely devastate. It'll even do some damage to Kotep, but here comes the Blood Dragon to finish him off. So, yeah, the balance of power is going to turn once again against the North-South Alliance to, you know, as their leadership goes down. Kotep in particular going down is going to be a issue for Tomb King's leadership in the long run. Let's see how they're able to respond. These flying single entities now can try and focus their efforts in going after the Ushabti Greatbows as best they can, but right now the Skin Wolves are doing a really clutch job of blocking. Yeah. Yeah, I agree killing smalls generally. I think sometimes it's risky to risk the miscast damage, like it's an unnecessary risk to risk miscast damage, but generally I would say I agree that the big one too is speed, honestly, for skeleton warriors. Being faster than zombies is pretty nice, but anyway, gonna see a big blob fight now as the Royal Altar Gryphites move in, having had a little bit of healing. Helm of Discord juicing everyone up, or rather debuffing all of the north-south units. You see some air burst Shabti shots firing in on that blob, though, and they're going to be doing some really nice damage here. There's still just so much chaff to try and work through, and the Shabtis, the whole time the chaff is being worked down, obviously they're just going to be firing, but nice Earthblood here, hits a bunch of units, including some undead, which doesn't make sense to me, but there you go. Doesn't actually affect them. Yes, that's hilarious. Don't think about it too hard, but a little Earthblood there. Unfortunately, Invocation of the Heck only affects undead, so... Another zombie summon, though. Oh, and army losses. Wow, just like that. Army losses kicks in, and it's going to be a win for XMT. Why are Skellies faster than state troops now? I think they were always faster than state troops, honestly. Maybe that's wrong, but I don't know if they ever changed the speed on state troops. I don't remember them doing so. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's definitely an interesting one. Excuse me, the Shabti Greatbows tried their best. They got some good value, but the rest of the Tomb King's army was basically just a bunch of meat shields, including Cathay, unfortunately. Just got absolutely wrecked there. The overextension of Throg was definitely a big issue, too. Despite how well the champs stayed grinding in that front line, weren't quite able to pay for themselves. For XMT's side, yeah, Blood Dragon is just hard to contend with. Probably the strongest, so definitely the strongest generic lord in the game. Might be one of the strongest lords just overall in the game, which is kind of insane when you think about it. Yeah, and then from the Empire's side here, Carl also helps. Carl is here, and the grenade launchers are the main one for the Empire that manages to get some really nice value. 218 kills, 1430. So, 30 speed for Empire, 31 for Skeletons. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, I think the Skeletons were always faster. I just don't know that it was reflected accurately on their unit card. I think it's fixed now. Okay. Yeah. Because it always seemed like, based on the animations, that the Skeletons were faster, but maybe you're right. Maybe they changed it at some point. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the next one. Award point to XMT. Okay. Sounds good. They're going to just run a test run for the next match real quick to see if it's going to be super laggy. So we'll just queue up some music as we kind of chill and wait here for the next battle. That was an intense 2v2. Some nice back and forth moments. I thought that the Unholy Matrimony was going to just fall apart, but there was so much value in that leadership, and that leadership was so strong. Man, the Blood Dragon's just insane. Just absolutely insane. Best lore of magic in the game. One of the best combatants in the game. Like, there are definitely better combatants, but like, imagine if you had, like, I don't know, somebody on the level of... Yeah, I'm trying to think of comparable combatants, just because even though he doesn't have an insane amount of HP on the Zombie Dragon, that Helm of Discord is just so strong. Plus, he has the huge weapon strength buffs as well. So anyway, while we get our next match going, I'm going to go let my cat out, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm returned, and we're back with the next match. Going to be Warriors of Chaos versus Norsca. For a chaotic good time on this one. And we're moving through. Yeah, it's next up on the order after these two is going to be... yeah, it's Alfare versus Koala. Next, it's you, Taco, versus Sabris. And then Cool Umbrella versus Rider Rohan. In a 2v2 with Hubs and Bob the Builder also. Hubs, of course, being with Umbrella, Bob the Builder being with Rohan. Then we'll finish up with John FB versus its current year. So we got a few games to get through, but we're actually getting through these pretty quick. I thought the stream might go on a little bit longer, but yeah, nice, quick and efficient moving through the matches today, which I certainly appreciate. So, being good. Okay, so just a second here. Just bumping my mic stand. I apologize if that's super loud for you guys. Okay. Okay. Bring the player names back. Sweet, so Norsca. Norsca's always a good time, especially against Warriors of Chaos, and already I see double Frostworm. Incredible. Plus Wolfric on a Mammoth. We've got some Marauder Hunters with Javelins. Got some Norscan Ice Wolves. And a couple of Skin Wolves also. Front line of regular Marauders. Yeah, with that much spended monsters, definitely makes sense. Up against almost a pure cavalry army, though, we've got two Knights of Khorne. Plus Archaon and the Swords of Chaos, so looking for some sweet Kindle Flame synergy. On some cheap spells, Flaming Sword of Ruin, of course, gives extra fire damage on units that don't already have it. Searing Doom as well, we've got some Chaos Chariots, and some Throwing Axe Horsemen, regular Horse Masters. Yeah, Horsemen of Khorne specifically. I like this kind of Khorne Warriors-inspired build with Archaon. Lots of fire damage in case of stuff that's weak to fire damage, such as... yes, definitely the Frostworm is weak to fire damage, 25%, so Khorne Knight and Swords of Chaos are definitely solid picks here. Let's watch the Knights of Khorne as they bumble into their own Marauder Horsemen here. Kind of get into a little bit of a traffic jam. Trying to kite a little bit, I guess, here. Javelins are definitely within range to shoot the Marauder Horsemen. And at this point, I would probably just start throwing javelins at whatever targets I can. Just try and screen them out a little bit here. Try and not get pulled too far out of position, because Koala Duck is, right now, getting his forces a little bit kind of spread out. And against so much mobility, the thing to do is really just to stick together, right? Because if your units get all strung out like this, it's going to get punished by charges from these shock units. So it's a Chaos Kite, folks. Not something I thought I'd see today, but here we are. Knights of Khorne, Swords of Chaos. Glad they gave the Swords of Chaos helmets, finally. They looked like a bunch of Joshua Grahams before, to be honest. Warriors of Chaos model count is 500. Yeah. Yeah, Chaos model count is 500. goodness for Ultra unit settings, right? But, yeah, I mean, the Marauder Horsemen, there's certainly enough of them to make up the numbers needed for an actual build. But the Frostworms here, the trick is that the Frostworms actually can kind of prevent the kiting to a degree with their slowing effects. But if they actually try and land and fight the Chaos Knights, they're going to have a pretty bad time. They're definitely going to try, though. Definitely seems like they're going to try, and with the Javelins in a position to support, this might not be the complete worst. Ooh, a Fate of Buna, too, on the Swords of Chaos. To absolutely put in the hurt on them. That is definitely going to feel the pain. I think, unfortunately, I might be the one causing lags here, because I'm connecting from quite some distance, I believe, but... yeah, it's a build, Cool Umbrella. It's definitely a build, for sure. But is it prepared for the double Frostworm is the question, because if the Frostworms actually could be a decent answer to it. Unfortunately, Qualiduck let himself get a little bit pulled out of position here, but Wolfric's now helping. We've got the Frostworms helping. Oh no, that doesn't look good, as the Skinwolves just get multi-charged from multiple different directions at the same time. There's also, I mean, the Javelins are so good, but Throwing Axe Hunters, the infantry ones, also can be pretty solid. I mean, they have better melee stats, and they're literally the same cost, so they could actually punch back reasonably well against the Horsemen. The Javelins actually are doing okay, honestly, and the Skinwolves did manage to survive that engagement, surprisingly enough. The Corn Horsemen maybe should have stayed the course and just tried to win it out, but instead they're choosing to go over here, which again, probably the right call, honestly. We got the Frostworm and Wolfric. There's a lot of value for Norsca here that's just doing some really nice damage. Skinwolves catching the Marauder Horsemen. Absolutely beautiful. We're going to see a Frosty Breath attack. Try and slow those Corn Horsemen down and do a little bit of damage to them. And it actually does kill a few unit models there. Wow, impressive. Oh man, they're going to pancake those Javelin Hunters, though. Yeah, I don't know why. They kind of like fainted at the last second on the charge, but here we go. When in doubt, just charge the biggest threat directly. And I think that's what the Frostworms' idea here is. Just charge these Chaos Knights directly. Don't let them get away from you. Don't let them, you know, try and cycle charge. Even though they're not the Lance variant, they still obviously have great charge bonus, given their Corn Horsemen. Frenzy is not currently active because they're a little scared. But, yeah, a little bit of lags here, unfortunately. Not necessarily ideal, but we will persevere. It's not the worst. Definitely have had matches with worse lag. But surprisingly enough, Norsca's weathering the storm, and Qualiduck's actually coming out ahead on army damage value. So, despite him getting a little bit out of position at various points, he's using these Frostworms to really good effect, and I'm going to be honest, I thought the Corn Horsemen would trade a lot better into them. Maybe the Corn Horsemen aren't actually charging the Frostworms directly, like they don't have the attack order directly on the Frostworms, which is a pretty big mistake. I think if they were to get like a nice counter charge and get a good surround, they should be able to beat them down pretty quickly, I would think, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Does look like they're starting to run out of gas a little bit, as all the Marauder Horsemen are, at this point, have pretty much been eliminated. And kiting is all well and good, but Norsca's the faction that created Frostbite, so it's also a little bit risky against them. Man, these Frostworms, this has to be the surprise of the day for me, is how well these Frostworms are actually doing, all things considered. I guess having two of them being able to support each other is actually pretty decent. A bit of Searing Doom from Archaon there. Wolfric moving in. Wolfric, 12,000 HP is more than double what Archaon has, so even though Archaon is a much better combatant, he didn't actually bring Hunter of Champions, though. That's interesting. Lore of Boats also hasn't been useful here at all, but it's also something that was brought. But, yeah, Corn Horsemen staying the course now. Really nicely done here, I have to say, by Qualiduck, using these double double Frostworms to support each other. He's got some nice value on those breath attacks as well. Archaon now moving in to try and dispatch them himself. Of course, Archaon's got pretty good fire damage as well. But without Hunter of Champions, I mean, 3v1, definitely the two Frostworms and Wolfric actually do beat Archaon. Like, I don't necessarily doubt that, but little Fate of Buna there just to make sure those Chaos Knights don't come back. And in the meantime, though, Archaon has put a major beatdown on one of these Frostworms here. But let's see. For 2v1 now, Archaon's stats are just so good. What is it, 60 melee defense? Yeah, 60 melee defense base. So, the Death Shaman. Oh yes, the Death Shaman on horseback is just being so brave right now, and I'm here for it. Little Flaming Sword of Ruin for Chaos units, even though pretty much everything that was in that area of effect already had fire damage, but that's fine. You can now move in close to watch Archaon as he gets stutter-stepped and pooped on by monsters. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Archaon could have been a little bit more active in trying to countercharge the Frostworms when they came to the ground. I don't know, maybe he was trying to, but let's see. I don't feel like he got all that much value. Yeah, only 1257. So I do feel like Archaon could have been used a little bit more efficiently there. I like the build quite a bit. It's definitely risk-reward. But for Qualiduck, those Frostworms proved an excellent control piece that then enabled some other units to also come in and get some pretty good value. Skin Wolves do okay. Javelin Hunters also do okay. Definitely. So, yeah, actually get some really good value. All things considered. So it's another win for XMT. And we are even on the series. Yeah, double Frostworm for the surprise win against a Khorne-focused Warriors build. Was not something I was expecting today, but again, I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and wait for word on the next lobby. Excellent. A fun stream so far. We've had some wild games for sure. Yeah, man, double Frostworm is just not something you see every day. Alright, so next up we've got Taco versus Sabris, I believe. Let me just check. Okay. Sweet. The meat zone. That's amazing. Is it ogres, my lord? The matchup is actually Taco's Lizardmen, Sabris is Dwarfs. So that's an interesting matchup for sure. Curious to see what Taco's got under under his sleeve. That's not the figure of speech. Up his sleeve. There we go. I promise I can English, guys. All right. Let's see what they got here. Mazda Mundi leading the way. Love to see that. I know Flying Taco's a big fan of ancient salamanders, so I'm not surprised to see one of them. Got a unit of rippers. Got a feral steg. Single croc score. It's like a very mixed build. Lots of different units. Yes, we've got some Saurus, bunch of skink cohorts, couple of chameleon stalkers. Interesting. Not a unit you see super often, but they definitely can be good in matchups where you feel you might be outgunned significantly. This is definitely one such matchup. For the dwarfs, looks like quarrelers. 5 quarrelers, very cost effective, very decent crossbows, heavy armor, lots to like, missile block chance. Longbeards and miners here. We've got Thorek Ironbrow leading the way, no surprises. Hans, the magical Thane, and another regular Thane. Bunch of more dwarf warriors and longbeards, I believe, yes. And then the gyrocopter Brimstone. So both have a pretty well mixed force, honestly. Like what these guys are bringing quite a bit. The Salamander without any artillery is going to be a big risk for the dwarfs, though. Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me, Boogelicious. Appreciate that. Excellent. Okay. Appreciate you reminding me about that. Cool. So yeah, Taco's taking a really nice widespread position here, which there's no risk in doing so against the dwarfs because of their complete lack of mobility. Oh, I also forgot to update the actual score. No, I updated the score. Okay. My live stream preview is just like 30 minutes behind for whatever reason on YouTube, so that's great. But here we go. Dwarves going for defensive geometry, which definitely makes sense. Nice checkerboard of quarrelers. Checkerboard formation definitely does a lot for you, but these blocks are also vulnerable to AoE magic damage, and oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Mazdamundi didn't actually bring Ruination of Cities. Curious. Or Banishment. Very curious, but he did bring Comet, so... Not sure what that's all about, but I'm genuinely curious to see what Taco does with it. I mean, Apotheosis for healing, yeah, makes a lot of sense, but... Comet? But not the free... Well, you have to pay for them, but still. Free AoE damages. Ruination of Cities in particular, on a build like this, deployment like this, would be super, super nice. Oh yeah, technically counts as mobility, but not really. This Ethereal Thane, though, he's got really good stats. Doesn't have a lot of HP, but, I mean, he is like Green Knight level stats almost. 65 attack, 50 defense, not quite 400 weapon strength, but still 375 of pure AP. Yeah, the Frostbite, especially for the Dwarfs, is quite nice to have. Personally, I think that was one of the best changes that they did for Warhammer 3, was making Ethereals be actually, like, pretty decent, have some cool specialist effects. Is that Sabris playing a box? It is. Sabris is playing box dwarfs. Looks like the Brimstones are going to come try and hunt the Ancient Sally. Well, that's fine. Chameleons are not in a position to respond immediately, but they will switch over there. And the Ripperdactyls also... yeah, they're just kind of hanging around. So far, Ancient Salamander really hasn't gotten good contact. It's got a few hits here and there, but nothing super solid. Pterodon Riders here, skirmishing with the Brimstone guns, taking damage from various targets. It's fine. It's not the cheapest unit to be taking the damage on, but it's certainly better than something like the Ancient Steg. Hey, if I were from Lamb Sauce King, always appreciated. Dwarven geometry at play, of course. What else would it be but Dwarven geometry? If I ever become a techno DJ, I'm definitely making a song called Dwarven Geometry. Some, you know, like nice industrial dubstep or something. I don't know. Oh, Sally's running for another shot. It had a nice potential to go on a 2v1 here, but the Salamander's having a tough time making any hits right now, actually. Taco's playing is super patient, though, as well he should. Just getting a nice full surround. He's got the Chameleons now in a position to respond to the gyros. So Salamander's running, taking another shot, and a decent hit on those Quarrelers. Little apotheosis on the Pterodon Riders before they lose any models. Keep them all healed back up. Yeah, mobility can't really be mobile because it's weak to cheaper units that can't fly. Yep, exactly. Gyros are one of the lowest HP units in the entire game for what they are. Very, very low. Ooh, the Chameleon Stalkers. They just threw all their ammunition in there. Didn't do anything, but it was nice and bright and flashy. And now they're going to get in and try and engage some of those Dwarf Warriors. We've got a cohort of Sotek also moving into block formation, attacking various angles here. Rock Scores moving in on the flank. Rune of Doom being popped at a very opportune moment, right when a lot of the Dwarfs are actually engaged in melee. But look at that, man. The column formation is able to mostly shoot the gap here and get to the back line. Start to occupy some of the Quarrelers. Rippers also charging down, getting on another unit of Quarrelers. So it's very important to compromise Dwarven range units, obviously. Taco's managed to do just that. Pretty much all of them being compromised at this point. Although some of them are able to still turn and fire a little bit in here. The Rippers are definitely taking some pretty serious damage very quickly. But let's see if we maybe get some rocks dropped. Pterodon trying to get their rocks off here, or maybe just skirmishing from the sky a little bit. Stegodon also came through. That should provide some nice terror leadership damage to make sure these units actually do get routed. But Sabris is holding on. I mean, Thorex still perfectly healthy. He's still got plenty of frontline healthy units as well. Grumbling Guard. Lack of Slayer somewhat in this build, but the characters squad in and of itself honestly could carry the win. So let's keep Hans and company in mind. Comet gets dropped there. Mostly gets dragged onto the Skinks. There you go. Rippers do indeed eat. They get terrified away by the Ethereal Thane, but that might actually work in their favor since they can now come around for another big charge. But a lot of the Quarrelers have been dealt with almost immediately. Ancient Salamander still got a decent amount of ammunition left, and is also helping to chase some units around at this point. Oof, once those Grumbling Guard get all blobbed up, that is going to be a beautiful place for the Salamander to try and shoot in. A little Rune of Wrath and Ruin there on the cohort of Sotek. And the Dwarfs are definitely surviving. Sabris is pulling back with more of his ranged units, reorganizing them, trying to get them in a position where they can fire here with just these crossbowmen, really. This one unit of Quarrelers is all that's left, as, well, there's technically still some Quarrelers over here, but they're in a very compromised position. Stegodon just mauling them with its horns. Yeah, that's the tricky thing about ranged units in multiplayer. Infantry, skirmishers, and artillery, the ones that are not mobile at least. Yeah, it's always a risk to bring them in multiplayer because it's much easier for a human player to actually compromise them. So, yeah, I'm surprised to see no Iron Drakes as well. A couple of the football grenades, the Trollhammer torpedoes are really good in this matchup, but he might not end up needing them. Oh, please let this comet land. I don't think he saw that one. Yeah, I think Sabras is busy microing elsewhere. Oh, but will they run out of the area of effect anyway just because it... No! Ooh, a brutal hit on some Longbeards. Granted, not the most expensive unit in the world, but still quite impressive stuff. I just don't know. Taco's build is just having a hard time accruing much value, and it's taking a lot of damage pretty quickly. He brought some, like, anti-artillery tools and some different stuff that's just not going to end up paying out here. Like you guys said, the Stalker's not all that amazing, so... Looks like Sabras is going to be able to hold out for the win. Yeah, Trollhammers and Flamethrowers both useful versus different targets. Obviously, the Trollhammers being versus the Dinos, and Flamethrowers versus Skinks. Yeah, let's take a look at the Sally value here. Ancient Salamander hasn't quite paid for itself. I don't know. I'm just not... I know Taco's a big fan of the Ancient Salamander. I'm just not the biggest fan of it, to be honest. But Taco's still trying his best to win here. It's going to have the Feral Stegodon and the Riptactyls. Try and duke it out for the win against... regular Thane here, and they are actually doing a pretty considerable amount of damage to him. Like, Taco's not completely out of this yet, but he is definitely behind the curve, for sure. So, let's see here. Ancient Sally going to be firing into the blob there. Nice, makes some contact. Ooh, those Rippers, though. Somehow the Gyros managed to stay alive through all of this. Retain a little bit of their ammunition. The Rippers also have been receiving a lot of healing, which definitely makes sense. But let's see what they can do. I'm going to go after some more of these isolated targets, kind of away from the Dwarf Character Death Ball, but that Dwarf Character Death Ball, man, so I just dropped crap over here on the side. The Dwarf Character Death Ball is... I don't know if Taco even has the tools in his army when it was completely full health to deal with them. So, we'll see. Yeah, Lizardmen are... Saurus are decent. I don't know. They're okay. They're not the best. I would probably rate them towards the lower end of mid-tier infantry. Yeah. This was never a great matchup for Saurus to begin with, but Max Croxagores actually might work here. The issue is really dwarf characters. Like, you don't have, as Lizardmen, great tools for sniping infantry characters, or for even combating them, right? Like... no, actually, you are incorrect. So you're thinking of the regular salamanders. The ancient salamander does have armor-piercing damage, and actually has a flammable contact effect, plus spell resistance doesn't do anything to fire damage. Yeah, magic resistance doesn't help at all. If it was Chaos Dwarfs, that's probably the worst matchup, because they have actual fire resistance. So that would be a matchup where the Ancient Salamander probably not be the best pick. Even then, though, again, it has its own built-in weakness to fire, so even if a unit does have some fire resist, it can still get rid of that to a degree. And there it is. Lizardmen's going to run into army losses, and the Dwarfs manage to survive. It's the best can be asked of the Dwarfs, really. It's just that they survive, so... Yeah, Taco's beloved Ancient Salamander does pay for itself, but I don't know. Again, I think if you're going to go with the Ancient Salamander, maybe you go with more of a kite-oriented build, and you just go all in with like 12 missile units, you know, like 2 Ancient Salamanders, maybe 4 millions, 4 Skink Skirmishers, and you just really try and pick them apart. Dwarfs, it's going to be tough because they're armor and shields, though. And again, in this build, I don't see anyone that really can kill even Thorek, but especially with the Ethereal Thane at his side. So, just waiting on the next lobby now. It should be another 2v2. And then we'll finish up with a replay. Head and score another one for the Night Crew. Yeah, solar engines make me sad. They used to be such a good piece for the Lizardmen, and like Blinded is so strong right now, but I feel like the solar engines are just bad. Like their accuracy is not very good, their damage is not very good. I don't know. Solar engines I definitely feel could use a little bit of a looking at. Makes me sad because they used to be so good. Like solar engines were an auto include in multiple matchups, but not these days. All right. Got the code from Bob. Get in as a spectator, and here we are. So it's Bob's, Kislev, Ryder, Rohan's High Elves versus Cool Umbrella's Nurgle and Human Boy's Skaven. Should be interesting. Should be very, very interesting. Solar engines need the Templehoff Luminarch buff. Definitely. All right. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Need to go do some yoga or some stretching after this. But, yeah, Ryder Rohan coming in hot with Olariel. Love to see that. Gives some nice AoE healing in a team game. Got Star Dragon as well, some archers, Fireborn, a couple of bolt throwers, and a couple of little Groms. Lothard Seaguard, we've got some Kossars, spears, and armored Kossars. More Dragon Princes. Oath Brothers of Tor, backed up by Patriarch, and an Ice Witch. Some heavy sleds. Oh, light sleds, actually. Yeah, double little Grom with double bolt thrower. It's pretty interesting. As for the other side, it's going to be a big old disgusting... yeah, we've got Kugath here, and some Nurglings with plenty of Skaven slaves. Got some Marauders of Nurgle as well. Looks like some Jezzails, 3 Jezzails, 4 Poison Wind Globes, some Barons the Bog and Plague Toads. Plague drones as well, not the ranged variant, just the melee variant. Avalanche mortars. So both teams have a good amount of long-range pressure. I do think the avalanche mortars are going to be very, very dangerous. But the fact that the Kislev and High Elf artillery outranges them so heavily means that they should be the #1 priority target right off the bat. And then Kugath also needs to be a major priority target as well, and in order to kill him, Ryder, Rohan, and Bob are going to need to preserve a good amount of their archers. Thankfully, they have a lot of ranged units, but definitely going to need them. Miracle and Pestilence, yep. It's a fun combination for sure. Quite strong, can be. Let's see here. Both teams patiently getting set. It's a lot of globes. That is a lot of globes. So many globes and so many Jezzails and so many weapons teams in general. The thing about 2v2s is generally there's enough value to actually protect the weapons teams. Yeah, we'll see how things go here. Not a lot of mobile strike potential from the High Elves Kislev alliance. Oh, we're gonna see already though a gust of true flight for extra accuracy. Let's watch these cannon shots, bolt thrower shots start to land immediately on the avalanche mortars. A couple of hits on those Jezzails as well. So first shot goes to the I don't even know what to call this alliance here. But avalanche mortars moving forward. Jezzails are also moving up, so it's going to be a little bit of an artillery fight here. 4 Jezzails actually. Wow, yeah, that is pretty serious. They are already whittling away at the Eagle Claw bolt throwers there. We're going to see a little earth blood. So literal healing being used here in this artillery trade. As they focus on the avalanche mortars, though, the Jezzails are going to start to get uncomfortable, you could say. See the ice chariots here also. Skaven Slay Spears don't any kind of charge defense. So they're easily able to punch in there, move across the front line, hit another unit. I thought maybe they were going to move back. See some Dragon Princes coming forward. Way overextending on this flank, arguably. Trying to get at the Warp Block Jezzails. Try and force the Jezzails to fire at something that's not the artillery. But, I mean, value trade-wise, the 2 Eagle Claw bolt throwers are the same price as the Avalanche. So that's pretty good, but losing these Dragon Princes is definitely very painful. So let's see. War Bears moving in to, again, counterattack the units that are kind of overextending a little bit here. That is going to be a really nice engagement for the Oath Brothers there. Although they will get somewhat bogged down. That allows a lane for at least one of the bear, 2 of the bear sleds to get through. Occupy the Jezzails here. Jezzails are still going to continue firing, though. And both little Groms now are at serious risk, so it definitely looks like the Plague Alliance is winning in terms of the value trade on the artillery fight. Slightly ahead, not too far ahead though, all things considered. And, I mean, arguably, well, both sides have plenty of access to healing, so it's kind of a moot point there, but yeah, the Poison Wind Globe is getting hit there by some light war sleds. War sleds are continuing to just rampage through the back line, do as much damage as possible, I guess, before they get killed, because they are definitely going to get killed, no doubt about that, but it's definitely feeling like the Plague Alliance is starting to take a little bit of a decisive lead. We'll see here. Obviously, with Star Dragon and Alariel and a lot of these other powerful units, it's anyone's game, must be said. But Dragon Princes have a clear lane to try and charge through. Get those Poisonman Globes. They're also going to take severe damage from the Globes on the approach, though. Nice. Managed to finally shut the door on this unit here. Going to see little Dwellers or some kind of Vortex in the back line. What is that? Ox of Misha? Who even takes that? Wild. Does doing a lot of damage, though. Wow. It is doing a lot of damage to, like, Clan Rat Spears and some Warplock Jezzails, but yeah, who even takes Hawks of Misha? Niska. Wild. Anyway. Yeah, we see the mobile attack here does come through and actually silences a few of the Jezzails. We're starting to see Barons of the Bog take some damage here as well. So, yeah, definitely both sides punching hard right now, and even, dare I say, the Order Alliance here, the hybrid alliance, if you will, they are trading okay and actually even trading decently in terms of value now, so definitely anyone's game still. Star Dragon and Alariel, the Oath Brothers, very powerful kind of death blob here to combat what's there. Some nice Earthbloods as well. Keep these units all healed back up. And oh no, Lord Skrolk is exposed. He's exposing himself unnecessarily. Which I think, is there any character that you would want exposing themselves less? Maybe actually Kugath himself. We'll get to him in a minute, but yeah, right now the Star Dragon and Alariel just easily dispatch Skrolk, terrify him away. Speaking of the big grandfather, or the Plague Father, rather, he is here. He's alive. He's not taking damage, really, which is good. Right now, the Barons of the Bog are just messing up this whole high-up line of archers, which is definitely a problem, but, I mean, Alariel, the Oath Brothers, I would hope, should be able to actually kill Kugath in the late game if they survive with enough HP and killing power left. But let's see. Oath Brothers here, overrunning into the Plague Toads. Skaven infantry really can't do much to them except breathe angry words in their general direction. Skaven and Chaos Demons are both good targets for leadership bombs. It's true. Very, very true. Ooh, looks like Star Dragon. What's he doing? Is he coming around to smash these Jezzails? Definitely a good call. Fireborn in the back line, trying their best to hold off like plague drones and stuff. Meanwhile, Alariel's just chasing off like a huge grouping of troops over here. That said, these Barons of the Bog are causing huge problems. They've managed to rout a lot of the High Elf archers away, and I am very concerned that High Elves are going to run into some problems. High Elves in Kislev, where they won't be able to kill Kugath because they don't have enough missile units left. So, as great as this is to come in and shut down everything that's left of the Plague group's missile units, which it certainly is good, don't get me wrong. It's also potentially leaving some of their own missile units kind of high and dry here. We do have some Kossar Spears coming in to try and help salvage the situation. The Oath Brothers of Tor also are moving back to try and punish the Barons for overextending, perhaps. Yes, Patriarch moving that direction as well. We're going to see a nice heal on these spawns. A little bit of fleshy abundance there, healing the spawns back up. I'm just trying to eat my lunch right now. Anyway. Yeah, the order... The Ice Order here. Hybrid Alliance is pulling ahead on value a little bit, but not really too much. Certainly not so far that Plague Bros can't come back and win it. But Oath Brothers finally punishing the Barons of the Bog after a long journey on both sides. Question is, did it actually get any of the High Elf archers to come back? Well, yes, actually. 3 of them managed to come back with some unit models alive. 22, 33, 46... So they have some capacity to deal damage. This bolt thrower here is also... it says there's a few more unit models left somewhere alive. I don't know. Yeah, they're actually routing. I don't know. A little bit of a banner bug there. But Lariel and the Star Dragon comes down to them with some support. Fireborn out in space trying to chase some routing units is pretty dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of globes there that could just one volley finish them off, like right here. Yep. Well, actually, no, it didn't quite fully finish them. They still are going to be able to get their charge. Although they're probably all dead. Lariel and the Star also trying to help kind of finish things off at this point. But really the best thing for the Ice Alliance is just try and clear out as much of the support as possible. It's not like a lot of the support units that are left are going to be very dangerous or high damage. These elite large units like the Oath Brothers or the Star Dragon, so might as well just, you know, be patient, mop up all of the mobility first, all of the support, and then move in on the Plague Father in the late game. Does look like that's what they are going to do, so yeah, ROR Bears plus full HP Star Dragon should be enough to kill Kugath. If it's not, I'm going to throw a big old fit. I mean, Kugath did kill the 88 HP Dragon in melee. I don't know if you guys remember that bug for the High Elves, but Star Dragon, I believe, has most of its breath attacks left. I don't know if it's used any of them, actually. There we go. Straight down on Kugath's dome. Does a good amount of damage, but even still, it's just a drop in the bucket for that big fatty. Little overcast fleshy abundance just to heal everything. The Plague Drones hard land here to escape the air forces, and at this point, yeah, the archers are just going to try and fire in, focus down various targets. That fleshy abundance, though, to just put out a big old bunch of healing. So I don't know, like I agree with using up as much of the archer ammunition at this point as possible, but let's see how this goes. It's gonna take a while from here on out still, but Human Boy's completely eliminated, doesn't have any units left that are combat effective. Bob does have a chariot here that I don't know if he realizes he has up against the map that could come in and use some of its missiles as well. Every shot is going to count at this point pretty critically, so... Oh no, don't use your breath attack on the infantries. I mean, I guess it does kill quite a few of their unit models, but still. I would probably all hands on deck for the big old Kugather. Yeah, I mean, from the Ice Alliance perspective, oh, the bolt throwers are back on. Clutch. Oh, Ryder Rohan found his crew there and managed to get them back online. They are crewing at least 2 of the bolt throwers, so they can just pick away at Kugath now. Nice. And all the rest of these units are coming over for some Salyak's Lullaby here. Some sweet healing on the High Elves. I mean, they don't really need a lot. The Star Dragon's pretty much full health anyway. But, yeah, the Bolt Thrower actually has a good amount of ammunition left, so this is pretty decisive as long as the Plague Drones don't come over and just instantly shut them down, which they definitely should. But let's see. Lariel and the Star are going to charge on in. I would actually probably charge the spawns first. I don't know. Oh, looks like they're going to try and set up another Hawks of Mishia here. Oh man, that does a lot of damage, honestly. And a little Star of Averlorn as well for the Star Dragon as it's fighting. Oath Brothers aren't really going to benefit from it too much, but they drop their own massive bombardment. It gets a big old tear route on all the mortal units. And it's just a big old mess of effects right now, clearing out everything except for Kugath, so... Not often you see exhausted units getting back to fresh, right? It does happen occasionally. But, yep, there's army losses. Kugath himself is suffering disintegration, which will still take him probably a good 30 seconds to die from. But there you go. Yeah, that was really good damage. I gotta say, I have not used Hawks of Mishkip very much, but maybe I need to give that spell another look. It seemed like it did really good in this battle, so let's check this Ice Witch's value here. 1124. Maybe not as impressive as it might have seemed on the surface of it, but still. Little Earthblood there. And that's going to be victory for XMT, which ties us up once again. And what a beautiful amount of synergy there. There we go. Wow. What a game. What a game. That was some intense back and forth, but the elites of the Kislev and the High Elves are able to hold on for the win. Oath Brothers, there's so much value on them, almost 3,000 value on them. The sleds actually did some pretty good work as well, almost 1,000 value on an armored Kossar, super solid. From Rider Rohan's side, obviously the Star Dragon did great. Despite everything, the Dragon Princes did okay. A few of them came close to paying for themselves. That clutch bolt thrower in the end game too made me super happy. Lothar and Seaguard pay for themselves. Kugath actually surprisingly doesn't pay for himself, despite everything. Gets a lot of value, but he's super expensive, so you maybe need... It's actually probably pretty close to paying for himself. We'll call it for him. The Plague Drones also kind of struggled here against the superior air forces. The spawns, on the other hand, were great. I honestly think, had they traded those Plague Drones out for just more spawns, it might have been able to pull out a win there at the end. It's hard to say. Maybe not. The Star Dragon was still so healthy, and those things are quite potent. From Human Boy's side, the initial damage was super impressive. Jezzail's all pay for themselves. Globes all pay for themselves. It's just the rest of the build, man. Like, Skrull getting sniped super hard was quite painful. And, yeah, the Avalanche Mortars did not really pay for themselves either. Granted, they were focused very heavily, drew a lot of value onto them. Still, though, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Beautiful, beautiful games, I have to say. Very well played to everyone involved. We're going to finish up now. The deciding game has already been played. I've got it on a replay, so let's go ahead and switch on over to that. And it comes down to John FB versus its current year Grand Cathay versus Dark Elves. So let's see Dark Elf build right off the bat. Triple Executioner, Chill of Sontar, 3 Corsairs, 4 Harpies, 2 Dark Riders, and I would imagine the Supreme Sorceress is on a dragon. We'll see. But it's a pretty small build. Cathay comes in with a much kind of more traditional wide build here with the Shugengun, double hero caster. He's got 5 Jade Warriors, a bunch of Jade crossbows, some shotgunners rather, Iron Hails, Peasant Long Spears, and Jade Lancers. Yeah, that was an intense game. Very well played to both sides. GG. That was a very good match for sure. One of the best 2v2s I've seen in quite some time. But now, unfortunately, its current year is going to find out the hard way that his build is pretty small and he really doesn't have a way to shut down these missiles very effectively. Well, at least he does, but they're not being used immediately. Are these Celestial Dragons? No, they're just Jade Crossbowmen. They just do that much damage. It's pretty impressive stuff. Yeah, the Harpies are going to come in a little bit late. They still do manage to come in and at least disrupt the shotguns. They can hopefully get on some of these crossbows as well, try and save some of the value. Man, those Executioners just getting hammered on the approach and kind of over-blobbing a little bit as well there. But Chill of Sontar gets in. We've got the Dark Riders combining with Blackguard Corsairs to actually beat down heavier cavalry. So it's not all terrible. And in fact, Chilly Boy should be pretty decent here. Even if he does get hit by quite a bit of missile fire, he can soak a lot of it and just kind of be okay. And again, Dark Riders here beating Jade Lancers by catching them on the back foot. But the Executioners, oh man, they just Ugh, losing 2 units of executioners like that is so painful. Full cascading fire cloak to increase their armor piercing damage. So it is actually Lord of Fire and not on a dragon. Interesting stuff. Chill of Sontar, meanwhile, does have a fairly successful attack going off on this flank. Corsairs getting matched up on Jade Warriors actually isn't as good for the Corsairs as you might think it is. But yeah, Murderous Prowess already being popped for the Dark Elves. They've managed to rout some units off. They've got a push going in a couple of different instances, but Shugengan Lord is a much better combatant than the Supreme Sorceress. So yeah, Supreme Sorceress is wise in running. She's also got Harmonic Convergence on the Shugengan Lord. Yeah, Roiling Skies. I'm like, what is debuffing her? But Roiling Skies actually brought here, not a common pick at all, the lore attribute for Lore of Heavens. But I actually really like the pick against Dark Elves. You can almost guarantee they're going to take a Flying Lord in most matchups right now, so I actually don't totally hate that. And the Burning Head also fairly solid, does manage to get through some of those Jade Warriors. Let's see, the Chili Boy, of course, with its regeneration abilities, can grind through quite a bit of stuff, as long as it's not taking too much damage from the crossbows. I'm pretty confident that it'll be able to destroy a lot of this Cathayan army. But their leadership is not the best, so if it does get isolated, it could potentially have some issues. But here we go, another Cascading Fire Cloak. Juice up the damage there, up to 515 weapon strength. Harpies flying on those Iron Hails. Managing to shut them down. Executioners, though, it's just pain. Non-stop pain. I don't know if any of the Executioners actually paid for themselves. Let's see, this one might have actually 227 kills, over 1,000 damage value. Yep, okay. I take it back. Some of the Executioners are doing okay, and their leadership does mean that, you know, even though there's 11 of these guys, they're still going to keep slicing up Peasant Long Spears. So, let's get in and watch one of my favorite looking elf units actually get some work done alongside the Chill of Sontar here. Still have good enough stats to fight heavy cavalry, no problem. And of course the crossbowmen that are mixed up in here is just going to have a bad time. Even the alchemist probably taking some damage here. Yeah. Another Burning Head there, just ripping up those Peasant Long Spears. And Chili Boy lining up for a nice breath attack. Maybe. Looked like he was lining up for another... Yeah, there we go. Nice breath attack there. Does pretty good damage to multiple units. Also hits him with that sweet frostbite. So... the issue is, like, a lack of ability to chase routing units. If only, like, one Dark Rider had been preserved until this moment, he could come in and clean up a lot of these backline units and actually chase them off. As it is right now, though, the mass of tattered missiles, yeah, like these Dark Riders here getting routed, unfortunately, Harpies shattering. The mass of tattered missiles is going to be tough for Chili to deal with. He's going to be shot from multiple directions, kind of pulled apart a little bit there. And, yeah, let's see if he has enough HP to kind of survive this. Harpies moving in once again, helping to finish off the Iron Hails there, helping to finish off those Jade Lancers. I don't know, Chili Boy, unironically, really might be decent in this matchup. Yes. Shugengan continuing to chase the Supreme Sorceress around, punish her for her being too cheap on a dragon, of course, which she didn't bring here, but still. Corsairs also getting loose in the back line, starting to chase routing units. These 6 Hargoneth Executioners, oh yeah. The true heroes of Nagarond. Astromancer just runs straight past him. Anyway, let's see. Chili Boy, can you do it? It's dangerous times to be a Chili Sontar. Got multiple units of Jade Crossbowmens lining up. You've got the Bandits of the Silver Road, of course. Not that Cathay has much in the way of fire damage here, but it's something. These guys actually, yeah, I haven't really featured them on my channel much, but they have fire damage and the weakness to fire, so that's fine. lower damage than the crossbows anyway, so it kind of all evens out in the end. But since I have the luxury to do so, this is a replay. We're going to fast forward a little bit as the surround of missiles tries its best to take down the Chili Centaur, and eventually the leadership starts to get a little bit low. Dark Elves really don't have any other units to try and mop up any of these tattered missiles, so although the Chill definitely has the power here, it's also suffering pretty badly to all of this missile attack. We'll keep fast forwarding as the Chili Boy blends through a few more units, but unfortunately just doesn't have enough left in the tank to win it and ends up getting routed. So by a single game, coming down to the absolute last minute there, the Night Crew is the official winner of today's clan war. So congratulations to them. Very well played to everyone who came and participated. It's been an absolute pleasure. So much fun. Fun times, fun games, and really wild stuff, honestly. The XMT showing their strength in the 2v2s for sure. But yeah, just overall great stuff. Love to see some back and forth games like that. So very well played to all. Yeah, poor Chili Boy. I know, so sad. He tried his best, and he did good. He did good. He got 800 value, but the rest of the army, unfortunately, just let him down a little bit. Even though the Executioners took so much damage, I can see why you would want to bring them. Because once they do get into contact, they just murder everything. But I don't know about taking both the Executioners and Chili Boy. I think he'd probably take one or the other. Because, like, maybe you only take one Executioner, but just split the rest of the value out with some more Dark Riders and other mobility to protect against missiles. Help the Chill have some more support to kind of grind through stuff. Anyway, that's a fun one. Very, very fun one. Yeah, Shades are super solid here. Definitely agree with that. Even the Shielded Dark Shards can trade decently in this matchup as long as they're not getting hit by Cathay and Heavy Cavalry, which usually you have the tools to respond to. But anyway, yes, absolutely. Been a pleasure. Like I said, I'm glad to be a part of history for the Night Crew, and it's just been awesome. You guys have been great. So thanks all for watching. I'm going to go